Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the video. We have yet more RX 480 news. Seems like this is a bit of a trend until the cards emerge onto store shelves. Speaking of which, we have a whole bunch of topics to talk about today. More performance information, actually some regarding games, for example Doom, the overclocking utility, actually decent screenshots, and finally, and probably the one we're going to start with, is supply. So, I mentioned just a few days ago that Overclockers UK, who are a UK-based distributor, surprising that one, had told us that they had hundreds of cards ready to go and they expected a very healthy demand for the GPU, but they felt that they were able to keep up with it. The good news is, however, the RX 480 is being stockpiled within the United States. How many cards? Well, if these rumours are accurate, 25 times number the cards available if you were looking to buy the GTX 1080 at launch, which is absolutely bonkers. Folks over at Reddit who work at various computer stores are posting loads of images of cards arriving in droves, and it's a good thing. It should mean no matter what GPU you're aiming to get, whether it's the 460, the 470, or either of the 480 variants, obviously there's the 4 and the gigabyte models, you should be okay on launch, and hopefully, cross fingers, it means that we won't get massive amounts of price gouging. Now I do want to talk about the overclocking utility, which is courtesy of videocards.com. So what this new utility allows you to do is set various clocks, voltage control, based upon different power states. This means that you can create similar states for different memory clocks as well, and the user has control over both the maximum and minimum speeds of the fan speeds, which help to distinguish temperature. So for example, you might decide, if the card's under 60 degrees, I might want my fan to be doing this, whereas if it starts, say, getting a bit toasty, you can adjust accordingly. It should be really good for hardcore overclockers or for novice overclockers alike. Now obviously there are a lot of good overclocking tools available anyway. Whether or not they're compatible with Polaris, the 400 series, we'll have to wait and see. I imagine it probably won't be long before the afterburners and the other such software is updated anyhow. So whether you want to use this or not is totally up to you. But it's nice that AMD are once again improving the drivers. To be honest with you, one of the benefits Nvidia had always enjoyed was drastically better drivers than AMD. It's not that AMD's drivers were awful, it's just that Nvidia had consistently shown that their drivers were not just more stable, but they were just damn right easier to use. Now, I pretty much think they're about even. I prefer some stuff with Nvidia, some stuff with AMD, and I have a couple of different machines with different GPUs, so I'm always switching between them based upon our testing. So I can confidently say I like both sets of drivers pretty well, and I don't often have stability issues with either. Now, I guess we should be finishing with performance, and I'd love to show the gameplay of this, but I dare not, because the websites and the YouTube channels that have done that have set all of their videos to private, because I imagine that AMD and others are not happy about this results. And it's not just AMD, it's also other reviewers, it's also the reviewers who leaked this stuff originally. They did it by accident from what I can tell. And furthermore, the AIBs, that would be the sapphires, the power colors, they're probably also a little pissed. But essentially, a YouTube channel by the name of GGPC had accidentally put public some frame rate tests for the 480. Now, there were a variety of different games on offer, including Overwatch, Grand Theft Auto, and Doom. But what's really interesting is from those various videos, they had selected, for example, Doom with shadows and virtual texture page size set to Nightmare, which is above the Ultra preset, and they were using 1920 by 1080 frame buffer, and they actually delivered around 100 frames per second. Now obviously the game does dip in certain areas based upon what's happening on screen, and these are by no means complete benchmarks, but it does show that we're looking at ridiculous performance for the card. It's faster, or about on par with the R9 390X. Now, there are a couple of things I want to point out before everyone starts jumping up and down. Don't think that this card is going to beat the GTX 1080 in, real benchmarks. It's not that fast. It's just not, because, AMD have said it's going to take Crossfire to do that. But with that said, this card is going to be really good for folks who are looking for essentially a $250 card or below. It's an absolute steal. It should deliver really killer performance. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on average around the GTX 970 to 980 levels. Maybe slightly more, maybe slightly less. Depends obviously on the game, driver revisions. Because let's say 3 months later, it could be that AMD improve the drivers that little bit more, squeeze a little bit more performance out of the game, or rather out of the GPU. But for now, I would tentatively say the normal stuff. Be excited, but don't sell your current GPU with the grand illusions that this thing is going to suddenly beat Titan. But for those who have the money to buy one, and certainly don't have the money to plonk down a GTX 1080, it's looking like an absolute steal. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.